Creatine. The majority believe it is only for bodybuilders. But what if I told you that this straightforward molecule may aid with everyday energy, memory, and brain protection as you age? The physics behind creatine is intriguing. And today, we'll explore why Dr. Rhonda Patrick considers it to be one of the most underappreciated brain supplements. Renowned for her studies on brain health, nutrition, and aging, Dr. Rhonda Patrick holds a PhD in biomedical science. She offers cutting-edge science to help people maximize performance and lifespan through her well-known platform, Found My Fitness. What is creatine? Your muscles and brain contain creatine, a substance your body produces from amino acids. Red meat and fish are good sources of it, although many people, particularly those following plant-based diets, have lower levels. Creatine functions like a rechargeable battery inside your cells, assisting in the production of rapid energy bursts when your body or brain most needs them. Let's now hear directly from Dr. Rhonda Patrick on creatine.
Creatine has been around for, ever, for decades. And it's always been, in my mind, it was like one of those gym bro things. I'm like, I don't need to be swole. And then over the last 5 years or so, the effects of creatine on the brain started to really get my interest. What is creatine, right? Why is it important? We do make creatine. Our liver makes about 1 to 3 grams a day of creatine. Our brain also makes creatine, and those are the two organs that make it. Creatine gets consumed by other tissues, like the muscle is probably the one that's the greediest because creatine is stored as phosphocreatine, but it's used to make energy, essentially. So it can increase muscle mass, it can increase muscle strength in combination with resistance training because you're able to regenerate and make energy faster. So for example, I became interested in it after reading studies where people that supplemented with creatine that were engaged in resistance training were able to gain more lean body mass, they were able to gain more strength. It was increasing their training volume. So you can do 1 to 2 more reps of whatever exercise you're doing. It seems to decrease the recovery time between those sets as well. So you're able to increase your training volume. Well, anything that's gonna increase your training volume is going to then have the downstream effect of increasing the adaptations, like increased muscle mass or increased muscle strength.
The role of creatine, it seems to have multiple roles: anti-inflammatory, anti-catabolic. It's obviously important for producing ATP, regenerating the ATP.
Especially vegan. Vegans are not getting enough of it because creatine is found in muscle meat. So people that are eating meat are getting a dietary source of creatine. But vegans and vegetarians are not getting that creatine. It's synthesized.
Now let's examine some significant research on the role of creatine in our bodies. Let's begin with a German study first.
So the study out of Germany found that 5 grams a day of creatine, if you're supplementing with 5 grams a day, your muscles are greedily consuming it, particularly if you're working out. They want it. After about 5 grams a day, especially over a few months, like you're saturating your muscle, and that's enough, right? Anything above that kind of spills over to the brain. What this German study found was that 10 grams of creatine increased creatine levels in several different regions of the brain. And that was probably the most exciting evidence that supplementing higher than 5 grams a day was actually doing something in terms of getting creatine into the brain. If you supplement with 10 grams of creatine or even go higher than that, like 20 grams of creatine, how does that affect cognitive function, right? Dr. Darren Kandau, he's at the University of Regina in Canada, and they've looked at things like sleep deprivation. And it's been found that if you take someone and you sleep deprive them for 21 hours and give them about 25 to 30 grams of creatine, it completely negates the cognitive deficits of sleep deprivation. Actually, not only does it negate the cognitive deficits of sleep deprivation, it makes people function better than if they were well rested. And now I would say all these creatine researchers, a lot of them are shifting to the brain. It used to be all muscle focused. And now people are super interested in what creatine is doing to the brain, especially if you're supplementing with more of it.
Approximately 20% of your body's energy is used by your brain, which is a powerhouse. By giving your brain an additional energy source, creatine supplements help your brain function better under pressure. Dr. Rhonda Patrick demonstrates how creatine promotes brain health, from improved general function to sharper thinking.
The brain, and that's why the brain also makes its own creatine pool. And when you get like a higher amount of creatine, if you're taking a higher amount of creatine,
whatever your muscles don't take up, your muscles get the first pick because they're very, very greedy. Then creatine's left over to kind of get into the brain.
So what are the effects on the brain? Well, your brain also consumes a lot of energy, needs a lot of energy. So it does make its own creatine. But it turns out if you can give your brain more of that creatine, particularly under a period of anything that's causing stress. So let's say lack of sleep, emotional, psychological stress, or in my case, high cognitive load, where you're just every day learning concepts, complex things, you're trying to remember them, you're putting ideas together and coming up with new hypotheses, and you're studying a lot, and it's very cognitively demanding, and it's a type of stress on your brain. That's like my life, right? Under this condition of stress, depression's another one. That's a stress on your brain. Or neurodegenerative disease, that's a stress on your brain. So any kind of stressful condition, that's where creatine shines in the brain. I know that I'm constantly under stress. I'm like, okay, well, I think I need a boost. And this is where a lot of very interesting studies have come out of many different labs, some out of Germany that looked at the dose of creatine and how it increases creatine levels in the brain. And this is why I now supplement with 10 grams a day.
Let's examine the amount of creatine that Dr. Rhonda Patrick individually consumes on a daily basis. Is 5 grams a good starting point, or is there a more effective method?
I started supplementing with creatine about a year ago. I started supplementing with it for that reason, for my training. And I was doing about 5 grams a day because that was really what was shown to be beneficial for muscle health in combination with resistance training. And it's important for people to realize that supplementing with creatine by itself without any type of resistance training isn't gonna grow your muscle. It's not gonna make you stronger. You have to put in the effort because what creatine is doing, it's helping you make the energy quicker. Being able to make that energy quicker means that you're able to then do that exercise better. 5 grams a day was like, okay, perfect. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing 5 grams a day. Definitely noticed an effect on my training volume where I was, doing more reps. So that was like, okay, a year ago.
And now I take 10 every day, all the time, no matter what. I baseline is 10. And I do that because of the brain effects. So there's been studies now coming out that it improves cognitive function. It might be important for brain aging. Depression is another one that's coming out. Again, energy production in the brain, very important, but you have to get above that 5 grams to have spillover, right, to the brain. On days when I don't sleep well, so if I'm traveling, I'm jet lagged, I'm in the other part of the country, and I have to give a talk at 8 a.m., which is, 5 a.m. my biological time. In those sorts of scenarios, I actually take 15 to 20 grams. And it's amazing what it does to me. It's like caffeine without the caffeine.
There's many times when I'm traveling, I'm jet lagged, lots of times when I'm sleep deprived and I have to be doing a podcast or a presentation, whatever. In those situations, I go up from my 10 grams to more like 20 grams, like today, for example.
In order to support brain energy, Dr. Rhonda Patrick typically takes around 10 grams of creatine per day, but she is seen utilizing more 20 grams in certain circumstances, such as severe sleep deprivation. Higher doses have also been examined in clinical studies. For example, a JAMA study on Parkinson's disease patients found that creatine was generally well tolerated when taken at a daily dose of up to 20 grams for several months before reducing to a maintenance dose. While several pilot trials in neurological illnesses have investigated doses ranging from 10 to 20 grams per day without significant safety issues, another research in individuals with major depressive disorder coupled 5 grams of creatine daily with antidepressants and showed superior outcomes. However, the data still supports a consistent 3 to 5 grams daily as the safe and effective baseline for the majority of people, as these larger dosages were evaluated in specific disease populations rather than in healthy adults. The most studied and reliable type of creatine is creatine monohydrate. You can start with 3 to 5 grams daily for consistent results, or you can choose a loading phase of about 10 grams per day, divided into smaller doses for a week, and then move on to a maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams daily. As long as you stay hydrated, long-term research indicates that it's generally safe for healthy people. Naturally, this is not medical advice. Consult your physician first if you have any health issues or concerns. Mix creatine into water, coffee, or a smoothie for convenience. Keep in mind that regular exercise, proper diet, and consistency are what really make creatine work for the body and the brain.